Russia and Ukraine. That should have never happened. It's a horrible situation going on over there. We're working very hard, and I think making progress to stop it.
President Trump speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast earlier today, with his administration reportedly planning to present a plan to end the war in Ukraine at the Munich Security Conference next week. And joining me now for more here on Bloomberg TV and radio is Kęstutis Budrys, Lithuania's new Minister of Foreign Affairs. Minister, great to see you here in Washington, D.C., where you're visiting this week. I do wonder what kind of conversations you're having here, and if you feel like you'll leave here with more clarity on what exactly the U.S.'s plan is when it comes to Ukraine.
I got the confirmation today from my many meetings that I had on the Hill that the U.S. will follow the lines that were already announced, that would be based on the strengths. And the peace will be also through this increasing the strength, and that would be the strong messages also to Putin that U.S. has leverage in these upcoming negotiations, and that would produce the result that we are all waiting. And that is the long-lasting, sustainable peace in Europe. And that would be the result that would make an impact globally also, because this conflict is already global, with North Korea's troops there, with the support of China, of Iran. So these messages that they already received, they are encouraging also us to do more.
Well, so when we consider this peace plan that we understand the U.S. is preparing to present in Munich, where you will be next week, what does it need to look like for Lithuania to find it acceptable? What does Lithuania think actually will bring about that lasting peace?
The very approach has to be to stop the aggression. That's not about only achieving the ceasefire and some truce, but to stop the aggression. And the aggression from Russia comes from its very source of imperialism and through the means that they are using. That is the military power and also the nuclear coercion in balance with these two elements. So we have to build a system that would deter Russia in the future from taking these steps again. Because if it won't be there, if there won't be the safeguards in this plan, so Russia will come. Be it 2 years, 3 years, they will reconstitute their armed forces and they will return. So our interest is that it will be a long-lasting system with involvement of everyone, also with the strong European part in it, with the long-term support, financial, economic and military to Ukraine to deter Russia.
Shouldn't Ukraine be able to join NATO to ensure a longer-lasting peace, or does that actually make the situation potentially more dangerous?
Ukraine's membership, NATO membership, that's the cheapest and fastest way to gain the security guarantees for Ukraine. We all understand that. If it is not accomplishable, there are other substitutes that will cost us more and that will require from us more time. But yes, when we are talking about the guarantees, that's one of the good options to have on the table. And when we are going to the negotiations, there would be unreasonable to take off those options. We have to have those. Because we have to have, U.S. has to have the initiative on your side, as it is already, and have all leverages. And those leverages has to be also some sticks, strong military sticks that would force also the regime, Russia's regime, to the table and to negotiate.
Well, when we consider the sticks that NATO has available to use, Donald Trump has talked about countries spending more resources in terms of defense, including on his inauguration day. This is what he had to say about NATO and the war in Ukraine.
NATO has to pay more money. NATO has to pay 5%. We're in the Ukraine war by $200 billion more than NATO. It's ridiculous because it affects them a lot more. We have an ocean in between. And we've spent $200 billion more on Ukraine than NATO has spent. And they've got to equalize.
So he mentioned that 5% level, and Lithuania just so happens to now be targeting 5% spending of GDP on defense by next year, 2026. How do you do that quickly?
That came from understanding that we have to strengthen our own defenses. We have to invest more. And the very beginning was the NATO regional plans that we all agreed. Those plans are operational ways how to defend against Russia and how to deter Russia. For those plans, we need capabilities. And the capabilities, we have to develop those, because in Europe, we all know that all these years of underspending opened the huge gaps. So we have to invest more. For Lithuania, the answer is that if we want to have the war-fighting capable armed forces till 2030, we have to spend more. And when we calculated that it was from 5 to 6% of GDP annually that we will reach next year already. This year, that will be 4% of GDP spending. Our neighbors already announced same plans, and our expectation is that other countries further into continental Europe also will follow this path, because this is the way how to make Europe strong and a good capable partner of U.S. in many fields, not only in Eurasia, but also Indo-Pacific. That's our way. And actually, our support now is even increasing to Ukraine.
So do you think 5% is an appropriate level for every country in the alliance to target? Can everyone get there?
There are different situations with the armed forces. Some of the armed forces are in really bad shape in Europe. Some of those are more capable right now. Of course, it depends on the country. But when we look in our stockpiles, when we look at the very status of how war capable they are, of course we have to spend more. 5% is not the right answer to each of the countries, but we have to increase. That's the correct answer. And in the Hague summit that we will have this year, June, we hope that all the allies will agree that 2% is not enough. We have to go 3 and beyond 3% as the alliance. And that's the good also way to send the message to aggressors. Russia, first of all, that we are serious here. And we're getting ready to strengthen ourselves.
I do also wonder what message it's going to send to Russia when just days from now, Lithuania, together with Latvia and Estonia, I believe, leaves the Russian electricity grid. Does that actually make things a little bit more tenuous in terms of potentially upsetting Russia? What does that do for Lithuania?
That's the final stage of our energy independence that we started a couple of decades ago, when we imported 100% of natural gas from Russia, crude oil 100% from Russia, and electricity we were dependent, as we today still are, within the one Russia's operated system of the electricity grids. So we built LNG terminal. Now we are buying more than 50% from U.S. our LNG imports. We are not buying crude or any oil products from Russia. Now electricity, the final stage. So what will happen this weekend? We will desynchronize from Russia's system and synchronize, meaning connecting in with our lines to continental Europe. And after that, we will dismantle physically the lines. We will just cut the lines with Russia and Belarus. So this is also the strong signal to Russia that we are leaving, the last systems that we will belong to. And it's also a strong signal to our friends and allies in Europe that you can make it also. It takes time, it takes some investment, but first of all, it takes a strong political will, and you can do it. So we did it.
Do you have any concern about reliability or potentially sabotage as we look at things that have happened in the Baltic Sea with cables being disrupted and that kind of thing?
We see a lot of disinformation coming from Russia. They try to show that it is a bad decision, that will make ourselves vulnerable and so forth and so forth. But we've seen it before also, and we know how to deal with it. You have to send a strong message to societies that we know what we do. There are some contingencies there already prepared, and we are safe and secure. So that's our message, and this is how we will implement it. And talking about the connectivity through the Baltic Sea, all the lines that we have on the seabed, yes, we are reliant on them. Yes, Russia tries to sabotage some of the communications, and this is something to stress that there are some differences in the Baltic Sea and in other seas, because Baltic Sea is really shallow sea. You can reach the communications, be it cable or some pipeline, even with the anchor of the ship. So this is one thing. Another thing is that we are dependent on those not only on the cables of communications, but also on energy lines. This is electricity lines in the seabed and also gas pipeline, also connecting us through the seabed. So it makes us vulnerable from that side, and that's why we are paying a lot of attention in raising the awareness of our allies that this is the problem, that we have to invest into the surveillance of the sea, that is what is happening above the sea and also under the sea, and of course the capabilities to react to different situations. And that will be one of the topics also we expect in Hague summit, NATO summit, June this year.
All right, Minister, thank you so much for spending some time with us while here in Washington. Kęstutis Budrys, Lithuania's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Appreciate it.